Welcome to the Project Bring Me Life podcast, talking about the spiritual awakening, metaphysics, and holistic health with artists, musicians, guides, writers, healers, and supporters. So please join us. Wake up and shine on.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Project Bring Me to Life podcast. I'm glad that you decided to wake up and shine on with us today.
Yeah, so we are coming to you from the Appalachian Mountains at Shine Time Studios, where it's shine time all day.
Yeah, after this podcast, if you could do us a favor and take a moment to share us on your favorite social media, be it Facebook or Twitter. Our hashtag is hashtag PBM2L podcast, and we would just love the feedback as well.
Yeah, so on this episode, we talk about Globalish.com, and Michael Garfield submits his articles to this, amazing website. And what they focus on is videos of cultural futurism, and they do this with a lens or perspective of non-dualism or non-separation.
Yeah, and if you don't know who Michael Garfield is, check out this podcast for sure, and he's also been featured on Season 1's episode. So take a moment, watch our episode, and stay awake and shine on always.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
The PBM2L podcast will return shortly after a brief message from our sponsors.
Hey guys, Shantastic Shine here. I just want to take a moment and give a shout out to my friends over at Appalachian Jamlich. They're not only creating a magazine full of amazing information that comes out every month, but they're also throwing an event called Mad Tea Party Jam. It's happening next week, June 19th through 21st, and the pre-sale tickets go offline this Monday, so hurry quick and get yours now. You can get your tickets as well as your issue of Appalachian Jamlich by visiting AppalachianJamlich.com. You never know, you may even find an article written by yours truly. Check it out. Remember, shine on always.
Nick Meter's mission is to liberate and empower people. Nick is a holistic facilitator, intuitive coach, and author. He leads healing and self-development with focus on communication and awareness. Visit his website for more information about private sessions, workshops, and more at ndmeter.wordpress.com. Use the promo code PBM2L for a free 30-minute DreamWorks session.
Thanks for listening to this message from our sponsors. Now back to the Project Bring Me to Life episode.
And without any further ado, let us welcome our guest. Welcome, Michael Garfield.
Hello.
So today we are talking about you writing for Globalish. Could you give us a little bit about your background in writing, and also what current projects do you have going on right now?
Okay. I was the guy that my friends went to edit their papers in college. Mm-hmm. And then I was a music journalist, as well as I wrote for a magazine called H+, which was a transhumanism magazine, starting in, I think, 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. It was originally a kind of an outgrowth of Mondo 2000, which was like a psychedelic cyberculture magazine from the 90s. And kind of went off into this more technological direction, and before the whole idea of transhumanism became much more like recognized and part of the cultural conversation in the last few years. I don't know, how much my history really has to bear on my current work, as far as like the kind of writing that I'm doing now is mostly, it is on culture. There's a good dose of futurism involved in it, but it's really stepping out of sort of my comfort zone, historically and traditionally, and working at a much deeper level with the material. And it's like, in a sense, the things that my friends at Globalish are sending me to write about are not, they're just a handle for addressing deeper stuff. deeper deeper ideas, and then pointing to actually feeling into our lived experience beyond those ideas that we have about it. So it's
do they send you what they want you to talk about? Like they send you a video that you watch?
Well, mostly, I mean, I shouldn't really talk about it being them and us. Like I helped found this company, and when I say that my friends over there, really, I'm working in close, very close communication, both in terms of like the ideas and the leads that we're developing, and then also the editorial process with a few other people. And it just happens that most of the leads that I'm writing about are sent to me by my friend Michael Richardson Bourne, who was the founder and the CEO of the company. But we work on developing all this stuff together.
So that kind of answered my question of how did you find Globalish, but what started Globalish? Like what brought this idea of bringing all these writers together to write on such topics?
Well, right now we don't even have that many writers. It's a kind of an ongoing project where the voice of the site has changed over the last year that I've been involved, and so we're only in the last couple of months are we really aware of exactly what it is that we're trying to do, which is specifically to explore the world of media, videos and social media and music, primarily, but lots of other, just the human conversation in general, but explore it through the lens of non-separation, like non-duality. So most pop songs, for example, are written from a place of assuming this interpretation of our experience that settles into the familiar categories of myself and the other. It's you're writing about somebody that you want to be with, or somebody that you're angry at because they wronged you, or it's all of this interplay between selves. And what does the process, the experience, the practice of relationship look like if everyone involved in that relationship is starting from a different assumption, starting from the assumption of that we're all moving from a place of prior unity and into these sort of provisional stories, it's like a working hypothesis that you and I are separate people, so acknowledging that that's just a story that we're holding, and that whole conceptual layer of our experience is just a part of it, then we can start to inquire into how these situations live us, how life happens sort of through us rather than us trying to like exert ourselves or control the situation in a way. And so that kind of puzzle, or it's not really a puzzle because it's more of just like an invitation to feel into something rather than to conceptually understand it. This shows up in all these different ways, in in the ways that we can interpret Hollywood films, it becomes basically we're sort of offering a new genre of journalism, or of like literary critique, or like film critique, that we're interested in what the seeker's path, and the spiritual journey is going to look like on a digital platform, and in an age when people don't really necessarily resonate with the trappings of the spiritual community or spiritual culture, but these questions are human questions, and no one owns them. So what does the inquiry into, the nature of mind look like if you are a celebrity rapper? Or what does it look like if you're, a Brazilian independent filmmaker? Or what is it, how are these questions going to be processed by cultures all over the world that are interacting with one another in new ways? Originally, Globalish, to answer your question, Globalish started off with less of a focus on the issue of communicating this enthusiasm for exploring these questions, and more just a general. Originally, it was more of a general site about the emergence of a global identity, of a planetary culture and a planetary consciousness. But that movement from a story of our separation to a story of our interconnection is still held by most people within this framework of it being moving from something that's not true to something that is true, rather than it being, well, here's a less practical idea and we're moving into a more practical idea, but it's still basically a shared hallucination. And it's still just a story, even if it's a vastly better story. And there's a deeper level at which we can interact with, or we can experience our lives, where it's not actually even about our interconnectedness with the biosphere, because we're not and never have been separate from it. So there's no way to connect those things. Like the whole idea of religion, to like a ligament, it's like to reconnect a thing. Religion's only necessary if you're starting from an assumption of your separation from the sacred. Like if you're trying to get back to that place. That's why, like Christianity is so obsessed with this idea of the Garden of Eden and the fall from that garden, and why that even in the modern age, even in secular culture, the conversation is so much around how we've become separate from nature and we're acting at odds with nature. It's like nature is an idea. Nature is a concept that we came up with a couple hundred years ago to differentiate culture and society and civilization, and it was originally not understood in that way. Society was understood in like mathematical terms as a subset of nature. The cities are something that is happening within. They're happening within the cosmic order. And they're subject to the same laws and rules and patterns and fates. And we lost that, and so we romanticize a world that never really was. All of these sort of rosy views that we have of civilization, or the world before civilization. We either, or we think that it's this horrible situation that we've grown out of and we've dramatically improved upon, and both of them are operating on this deep structure of the myth of separation and return. That we start off in a state of fusion and we fall into that. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. We don't have to abide by that particular narrative format. So I don't know. That's a rant. But the point is that there's something more than just trading stories for better stories, and that is like actually looking at story making as something that we do, and as the mind as an instrument for that, rather than getting like attached to a specific view of the situation and like clamping down on reality, and this especially these realities of me as a real thing and my relationship to everything else as a real thing. It's like that's actually a totally dangerous and probably kind of insane view of things.
Yeah, I definitely have experienced that. In 2012, I talk about this often, where I traveled with a bunch of people. We call it the Eternal Tribe Foundation. I traveled with Zenora, Saluta, or Taylor Dahl. And, when I got back, I went to where I lived, and I literally burned like everything that I had. I burned my high school diploma. Anything that I felt like identified me as, something separate, I wanted to burn it. And after a few years, I've come to the realization that there is a place for having that self, or that self-realization, or that uniqueness. It does serve a purpose, and that's really brilliant. And I would like to know, what your thoughts are on the purpose of being different, or being unique, or having that view of separation, or self-realization.
Well, it seems like, I mean, this is, story alert here. This is an idea that seems to be the best fit for, what I've learned up to this point, but it's entirely possible that something better comes by to replace it. But like, it seems that the self is a social adaptation, that it's something that emerged for us as we began living in larger social groups, as a way of keeping track of our responsibilities to one another, and to the group at large. Like, morality grows out of, like, the simplest form of morality is reciprocity. And so there's a lot of our cognitive toolkit seems to have emerged from keeping track of favors and who's done whom what favor, and that's basically, what money is, and where our legal system grew from. And it's what it seems to be why we have selves in the first place, is in order to improve the function of a group identity. In order to maintain the cohesion of a group, because every part within that whole is keeping track of its running tabs on who's done who what favors and who owes who what, and being able to recognize who's a part of that tribe and who's not, requires a level of identity that's not necessary for independent organisms. Like, yeah, you see a stronger self, like whales and dolphins use call signs, like they have like a radio call sign that they use when they speak to one another, so that the recipient, who's not necessarily within eyesight, knows who is giving the message, who's shouting it. And dogs don't do that. I mean, even though they're social organisms, and but they work by scent. It's, at any rate, it seems like that's what's come for us, as a strategy for, basically mediation and arbitration of, social dynamics. And so there's like Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who is this Jesuit philosopher and a paleontologist, and his ideas have crept into a lot of the futurist thinking of this day and age. He says, hyper-collectivization leads to hyper-personalization, meaning that, like, as we become a more and more connected society on a planetary level, that we're going to start seeing more fashion trends, more subcultures, more different baby names, that the that the pool becomes larger, even as we become more and more permeable to the experience of other people through high bandwidth social media sharing and the erosion of privacy through universal surveillance, which is something that's like frightening to a lot of people, but it's like it's neither good nor bad. Thinking makes it so. It has a lot of benefits, and it seems for all intents and purposes to be part of a natural progression. But of course, it's definitely the idea of being known on an intimate level like that is frightening to our sort of suburban sense of we've walled ourselves off so thoroughly to one another that any encroachment into the like suburban McMansion of the modern ego is like threatening. But at any rate, so like it seems that the trend is actually towards, in some respects, greater and greater diversity and deeper specialization. And like if you go to Burning Man, where everyone is sort of free to be themselves, there's this bizarre pileup of anonymity and total creative self-expression at the same time. So you're both, able to be totally freaky and also sort of lost in the noise. And that's like one of the things that a lot of people aren't really considering is that, this loss of privacy that we're like moving more into as we become more and more wired with one another is on one level, yes, making us more vulnerable, but on another level, it's like being a zebra in a huge herd of zebras, and like it's just all stripes to a lion. Like you can't, this is like the Facebook artist problem, which is like there's more amazing art being created now than ever, and it's harder in some respects to be heard as an artist, even though it's easier to reach people because there's you've got a greater reach than ever, but you've also got to
compete with everybody.
You've got to shout over every other bird in that huge nesting flock of birds. It really does feel like one of those like a huge beach full of seabirds, and they're all like shouting over each other.
Yeah. So like kind of sum it up, I like the last sentence of the article you actually put is like, to get with it and maybe you'll understand or maybe more prepared for when you realize you don't actually exist. So like you exist, but with everyone else showing their uniqueness at this point, you realize that your uniqueness isn't really as unique as you thought it was, because everybody has been kind of like taught or conditioned to like hide it. And now that everyone's like coming out with it, we're getting lost easily.
Yeah. It's connected to Rule 34, which is if it exists, someone's made porn of it. It's like the more aware, the more access we have to the private lives of other people, the more we realize that what made us unique is not it didn't actually. That even like facial recognition software has trouble because there are so many people that look almost exactly alike, strangers that have never met, that have this doppelganger floating around. We have, and in a way, this is, perhaps like an existential nightmare to some people, because so much of our health and happiness in the current culture is built on this, like, feeding this infantile delusion of our uniqueness. you know, like you can get your, you know, double caramel macchiato just the way you want it, you know, and it's actually just catering to the, you know, the consumer mentality that's grown out of this. But like it's the same is true even at this, like the level of our scientific research, where, you know, we thought this is what separated us from the rest of the animals until we see this animal doing that. You know, like, oh, we're the only ones with syntactic language. Oh, no, we're not. You know, dolphins totally have syntactic language. Or, you know, we're the only ones that enjoy sex. I still hear people say that, and it's bullshit. It's such a lie. It's not true. We're not the only animals that enjoy sex. Those neural systems are so old, you know, that it's just they're there. Like that pleasure circuit is designed to get an animal to risk its life to reproduce. Like that's ancient. And so we can probably assume that sex is something that's enjoyable to every animal. You know, that it's probably the case that a male praying mantis enjoys having its head bitten off. You know? So like, you know, and it's just our silly, you know, self-centric bias. You know, that like Descartes said that you could dissect a dog alive and that it had no soul and no interiority, it had no experience, that it was just a complicated piece of clockwork, you know? And it's like, that's so insane. That's so, I mean, and basically we're at that same set with, you know, the people who think that we'll never make the robot unemployment issue, you know, that like, oh, we'll eventually just all be artists because that's one thing that robots will never do. That's totally not true. There are computers that are already churning out gorgeous musical compositions that you would, you know, if they were played by a human pianist, you'd never realize were not the work of some, you know, classical master composer. And they can just, you know, just keep spitting them out like it's a screensaver. And, you know, I watched a video about, forget what company it was that makes like robotic arms for manufacturing, but they made one that learned from a Japanese master swordsman all of the moves of his tradition. And they show this like car factory robotic arm holding a katana, slicing like a pot of peas in half and stuff. You know, there's an article on ibtimes.co.uk that came out just 3 days ago. Computer invents new scientific theory without human help for the first time. That was it figured out how a sliced up flatworm regenerates into new organisms, solved independently by a computer, University of Maryland. You know, so like this whole notion of our like specialness is going to, I think, erode away entirely. You know, like we're going to get to that point where there's no real reason, there's no meaningful answer to the question of whether a machine can think or whether it can be creative. And we're just going to get to this point where we're basically just having to relate to the world on a more kind of immanent and functional level, you know, because we don't really know whether, you know, we're operating on like, you know, an educated guess that even our fellow human beings are conscious, you know, and I don't mean it in like the hippie, like conscious and unconscious, you know, like unconscious people watch Fox News. No, I mean like you don't even know that like your girlfriend is having an experience of any kind. Like she could just be, you know, like the light might be out in there and everything's still just humming along and you never know. So like we already operate on these these you know, complicated guesses now, and I think it's just going to continue to be that way in the future. Only we'll be disabused of our sort of pretenses about, you know, what separates us from the rest of the cosmos, you know, what makes us special. And like once we're over what makes us special, then we can actually appreciate what actually makes us special. You know, if that makes any sense. Like, it's not a, you know, you'll be able to recognize what makes one petal different from another petal on the same flower, you know, rather than being like, oh, this is clearly the superior petal. I don't know.
Well, that's awesome. Why don't we just take a quick break and then we'll come right back and continue talking with Michael Garfield.
Meditation has been proven over and over with studies from well-established schools like Harvard University to grow gray matter in the part of the brain associated with memory, learning, empathy, reduced stress, and countless others. Join Suleiman with his first official meditation CD, including 4 studio-quality recordings, including all original music. Become mindful of your world with mindfulness. Learn about healing major energy centers of the body with Chakra Cleanse. Begin to forgive the past and move forward in life with forgiveness. Connect with your soul and ignite your heart with the true you. To get this meditation CD, all you have to do is go to projectbringmelife.com and click on the merch page next to the home tab.
Thanks for listening to this message from our sponsors. Now back to the Project Bring Me to Life episode.
We do have a few more questions, and you know, a lot of your articles, a lot of your work is done very artfully, very brilliantly. There's, you know, every video that I've watched on your articles is like very, very unique and very artfully done. And one of them was about projection napping, is what they call it, where these people are just projected onto huge buildings. And
that project was a little different in the sense that it was a sort of a false intimacy. Like the people that were projected in these cases, so it was like a giant image of a person curled up sleeping, but they knew that they were a part of the project, and they were probably not even actually sleeping when the footage was filmed.
Yeah,
it's just that idea of walking through the city and then seeing what looks like the building has been cut away and this giant person is asleep inside of it is, you know, it's an artificial moment of intimacy, but it still changes the way that people relate to, or it has the potential to change the way that people relate to their space. You know, to remember that firstly that their urban environment is a canvas for ephemeral artwork. Like even if, you know, graffiti is always going to be sort of at odds with the establishment, it's an alien perspective on the familiar, and in that way it reanimates us with the sense of wonder, like childlike wonder that we'd lost at some point along the way in our like process of socialization.
Yeah, what you were saying about, you know, you could use art to sort of send out a message or whatever. We've been working with this lady, her name is Regina Holiday, and what she's doing is she's transforming healthcare with her art, and she calls it the Walking Gallery, and she has over 350 pieces of art that she's done on the back of blazers or jackets or even like doctors' white coats.
Cool.
And these people will go to healthcare conferences and they'll sort of have a story on their back and they walk around. And because at healthcare conferences, they don't really have a lot of patients who get to go there and talk. So the patients will wear their story on their backs, and people will see it and listen to their story. And
yeah,
this is really amazing.
It's really neat, and it's just like a way of. I mean, it's kind of a way of like adding a little bit of uniqueness, like you said. And at first, I'm sure like the first couple people were like, oh my gosh, I'm one of the only people that do this. But even now, there's a couple hundred of them. But even so, like each person still has some sort of unique story. And it's a way to bring art into healthcare when people are having a really dark day. Like healthcare is kind of a dark topic for a lot of people to talk about. So to brighten it up with some paint and some art and just it's a way of changing the world and brightening it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah. Real quick, talking about a Globalish some more. I want to say how much I really enjoy the project and how much it really does align with us, because our slogan is wake up and shine on, and then Globalish is read, watch, and awaken. And the fact that you guys put videos with most of your articles, it really brings my attention to it, because I'm a visual learner. So you guys aren't just writing a story, you're bringing a visual into it, and you're tying all these other articles into what you're saying. And just in general, every time I talk to you, you make me think 10 times harder than I normally do. But just like reading your articles, I feel like you said earlier, they're there to make you think. They're not just telling a story. They're there to make your mind go into a whole different perspective of thinking. Really mind-blowing. I don't really have a question. I'm just kind of rambling.
Well, I'm glad you like it. I mean, for I guess anybody who's watching, all I'd really say is we really welcome a lot of your feedback on our writing and on our video content. We are still a media company in a process of experimentation and discovery and play. And I have, like you said, I have a habit of kind of getting super heady with things and running away with big ideas. And that's not really necessarily the goal with this stuff.
It's not bad though.
It's not. I mean, really, for me, the success is if we're able to point past the ideas to, the experience of recognizing that our sense of alienation and like loneliness or suffering in whatever form, that's clouds in the sky, basically. And that all of these ideas are something that we have and we can hold, not necessarily not to be identified with them exclusively. Like I have beliefs, I believe that I was, contacted by aliens, but like if I were to spend my whole life, pursuing that in some radical, if I spent my life trying to prove that they exist, all of these other opportunities that I would have had to have improved the experience of living for other people would have come and gone. I would have lost all of that. So, I mean, I think mostly it's like anyway, I welcome feedback. If we're saying, if we're fumbling something, let us know. If we're doing something really right and we've managed to trigger something profound in you, then let us know. And
yeah, that's globalish.com.
Globalish.
Yeah, global ISH. Because really, what is the seeker's path going to look like when it's no longer a path from here to Mecca or whatever? The pilgrimage is on a network now. We're all online, and so there isn't a clear beginning and a clear destination. And so it becomes this destination or journey as destination thing. There's this term, the derive, that I really love. I was reading about it in Hakim Bey's book, Temporary Autonomous Zone, which was it's kind of a kick-ass book on anarchism and a critique of the idea of utopias, like the Venus Project, and just how unrealistic they are. But he was saying that, like, that you know, every utopian vision is static, and that even if we were to execute these utopian visions, at some point the world is constantly changing and chaotic and creative, and we're going to get to a point where even the best ideas that we have no longer suit the world, and they become rigid and confining. Like the, like with the Venus Project, that guy is so full of brilliant ideas, but he's still operating in sort of a cult of charisma and personality around this stuff, and it's the vision of one guy, and there's no like clear roadmap to implementation, as I understand it. And so like it's clear to me that that's not. But at any rate, the derive, the derive is like a pilgrimage of wandering.
Wow.
Without a clear destination in place. And I imagine that the better world that we're going to build together looks more like that, where it's executed kind of like a termite mound, where like no one termite has an idea of the whole mound, and no one termite could like do it on its own, and what happens emerges out of the complex interplay of a whole group of creatures. And I think that, I mean, something like that's probably happening in between, like, we affiliate with particular political parties, but if you see, like, for example, Republicans and Democrats as opposing muscle groups in the body politic in like one society, and these different political groups are pulling in different directions, but by doing so, they're creating a space, so like either side is saying, well, that's not my America on the other side, of the fence. They're like, that's not, I don't identify with that. But in that sense, neither group is identifying with America as it actually is, which is that, which is that which emerges in the intersection between all of these seemingly oppositional points of view, so that, again, like the truer identity is in the mystery or the paradox that's holding all of these seemingly opposing and exclusive realities. So like who we actually are is bigger than any one idea than we can try and hold, pack it into. And I think that's, the real, that the same is true of like what constitutes spiritual practice now. That really practice can be had in anything, just like mere mindfulness, the practice of being mindful of our actions, as well as like a deeper inquiry into who is actually aware of these actions, who is actually doing this stuff, which is enjoyed as a question and not really, pursued as having a particular final, ultimate, satisfying answer. But these are things that can be explored and celebrated no matter what is going on. It doesn't take the form of a particular set of rituals or practice or behaviors anymore. Although that's not to say that we're beyond ritual or that we're beyond pilgrimage. It just means that we have some more freedom nowadays than we used to in deciding how we choose to implement, how we choose to practice, how we choose to find our practice in whatever. So it becomes this open, rolling, ongoing thing, which is like, how are you engaging this, in your life? And it's like the more we see different people waking up in different ways, the more of a comprehensive portrait we have of what it means to wake up.
Wake up
at all. It's like everyone else's enlightenment deepens ours.
Very
Like
interesting.
Yeah.
we're all benefiting from each other's, from learning of each other's stories and perspectives.
Yeah, and that's why we do this podcast.
Yeah. I like how you said everybody's versions of wake up is different, because like since we've actually got Project Boomy Life shirts now, they say wake up and shine on in the front, and one of the first couple times the boys were wearing them out, people kept going, what's wake up mean? And I'm
What does
just
it mean
like,
to wake
how
up?
do I explain in like a second at a cashier what wake up really means? And my definition of wake up is not going to be the same as what theirs may be anyway. So it's really very open-ended waking up process.
Yep. So
Real quick, I saw that you had a new picture. What are you doing outside of writing for Globalish right now? I know you had a concert online a couple weeks ago.
yeah,
That was awesome.
That was fun to watch.
Thanks.
That was really cool. Is there anything like that coming soon from you?
I mean, if people are interested in the music and the art that I'm continuing to produce as well, michaelgarfield.net is my blog, and you can get up on there and you can subscribe to my email updates, and I will shower you with free music
And awesome.
of the most adventurous and playful kind, and I will continue to post updates of new paintings and that kind of thing.
Appreciate it. And Michael will always reply to you. I even when he didn't know who I was, he would always reply to me. So, just want to. So go ahead.
Now that you don't know who you are, then I still reply to you.
Yeah. So appreciate it, and it's cool that you respond to people who seek interest in what you do, and I think that's really important. So
Well, dude, I'm not a rock star. I have lots of free time and love making connections with people. The whole cult of celebrity thing is so bankrupt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what's the point? There may come a day when I can't respond to all the email I'm getting, and that day will feel like I will have to have died to some part of me that really wants to be the friend of every single person who loves my music or my artwork or what I have to say. Like,
that's admirable though, that you really want to do that, and that's amazing. Real quick, I want to show up this new picture. It's a jellyfish, pretty sweet and pretty colorful, really sweet looking.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Why a jellyfish? I must ask, why a jellyfish?
I must have.
Oh, well, I go into if you can share the link with people to that page, or we put it in the comments or something.
Yeah.
There's a whole epic story that goes with that jellyfish. A bizarre synchronicity that I had very late at night, one night, where fiction crossed the page and entered my life and manifested in a way that was kind of hard to deny. Kind of broke the fourth wall of my reality. And it was a jellyfish themed event. But I mean, in general, jellyfish are just badass. It's not my first jellyfish painting.
I know you did say jellyfish.
It won't be my last.
Yeah, jellyfishes are awesome. But I'm an artist, so I have to share everybody's art when I get a chance to do so. But if, like you said, we'll throw that link up there. Check out michaelgarfield.net. Correct? Is that right? Not .com. .net. And check out his art. Check out his music. Check out Globalish and what he's writing. And I enjoyed this interview.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
guys.
Yeah.
You're doing the good work. Keep it up.
Thank you.
For sure. I'm
Thank
grateful
you.
as always.
Yep. So stay awake.
And shine on always. Welcome to this week's Shantastic Shine card reading. I'm using my Angel Dreams Oracle deck by Doreen and Melissa Virtue. I'm going to go ahead and do a 3-card pull like I do every week for Project Bring Me to Life and see what the cards have to say for us this week. Awesome. So we keep getting this dancing card. I think every time I've used my Angel Dreams deck, we've gotten a dancing card in some way for Project Bring Me to Life, which is just so interesting to me. It means the angels just really want us to dance. They want us to make a move. Embrace that movement. It's time to dance and grow and move your body. Express your emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual self in this way. It's okay to move vigorously, sway gracefully, and jump around. Dancing is really the universal language of the body, mind, and soul that allows you to balance your chakras while releasing pent-up emotions and giving yourself an outlet for joy. It's okay to let your intuition guide you and your movements. Dance and exercise to help ground yourself. Give thanks, gratitude, and blessings. Show the spirit you know what's up. Discover the messages your body is relaying to you through the movements. This card also is a message that Archangels Gabriel and Raphael are here to guide us. Take time to express yourself artistically and show others it's okay to dance and be different. Pay attention to the messages you're giving others with this body language. And remember to care for yourself physically through movement. This will help you cleanse your body of toxins while bringing you vitality and broadening your perspective on life. This brings us to the Amethyst card. The Amethyst card comes to you today to remind you to practice and hone in on your psychic abilities. It's a good time to find the space where you feel safe. It's okay to go and take a moment, hold an amethyst crystal, feel protected while you work with these skills. Amethyst is a symbol of protection, divine communication, and the ethereal and third eye values. The crown chakra is also highly connected to the amethyst crystal, as well as purification. This card is also showing up today to help you identify damaging beliefs, behaviors, and habits that may be blocking your development. It's time to identify and release these behaviors so that you can now move forward. Check in and feel if your emotions or attitude are stopping your progress. It's also a sign that Archangels Raziel and Jeremiel, Uriel, and Ariel are here to help you at this time. It's a good thing to work with Amethyst to help balance and align your physical and spiritual self while you awaken and just come in tune with your energetic body. Know that you're safe and protected while you awaken to your natural abilities to see the divine energy. Work with Amethyst to help open your psychic development and clairvoyance. Know that everybody has these abilities. Some are just more used to using them than others. Now let's move to the dress rehearsal. This is a newer card to me as I haven't gotten it very much. It means alternative course or choices are at bay. Do not delay in making the choice that's now facing you. It's really a good time to really feel out alternative action. Take time to sense your body's reaction to your current circumstances. It's okay to rehearse. Note the differences between your current life and your imagined scenario while going with the choice that makes you feel happier, even if it seems to be the most difficult choice at the time. If you would like to try out an alternative action, a dress rehearsal is really good to have in a dream. You can focus on the situation before falling asleep, and upon awakening, you'll notice how you feel. You may have even received a message during the dream. It doesn't even have to be related to this specific situation. More so, take an account of what your feelings were, how you reacted to things, who was with you, what was happening. Know you're being guided to change your course of direction, as your current situation is no longer serving you. Call upon your support system for help in this change. It's okay. We're all here to help each other. Know that everybody's going through a change because the only thing that never changes is the fact that everything's going to change. So, overall, grab a piece of amethyst, tone in on your psychic abilities while dancing it out and making a change. Thanks for joining me for this week's Shantastic Shine card reading. You can find more card readings by clicking on the card reading section of the homepage on projectbringmetolife.com. Stay awake and shine on always.
That was a brilliant card reading. Thank you, Shantastic Shine, for that. This is another edition of the 2-minute meditation with Selaman. And for this meditation, we're going to bring in the creative energy. So go ahead and close your eyes, or focus on one part of the room. Just begin to quiet your mind, begin to get into that meditation state. By doing this, you can focus on your breathing. Just taking deep breaths in and out, just releasing all the air, pushing your abdomen in. Just feeling your air, your lungs fill with air. And releasing anything that, you have felt in the last week or so. And just let all that go. And now begin to focus on the color orange. Orange is associated with creativity. Focus on the color orange. See it like a glowing orb surrounding you, surrounding your physical body. Begin to connect with your creative side, with your creative energy. We all have it. We all have the ability to be creative. So tap into that. You can ask the question, please, universe, allow me to connect with my creativity. Allow me to create. Allow me to connect with my creative side. Just feel that creativity starting to enter into your energy, enter into your physical body, enter into your emotions, your mood, your state of being. You are creative. You are creativity. And now see yourself creating the most beautiful art, having the most brilliant ideas. Anything that you do in life that needs creativity, allow yourself to connect to that. Feel it. Be it. Get the full effect of it. Now begin to open up your eyes. Unfocus from that specific part of the room. Come back to your physical body. Wiggle your fingers. Open up your eyes. If you need more help with meditation, I am a meditation therapist, and you can find some of my guided meditations and or schedule a private session with me at silamon.wordpress.com. Namaste.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Project Bring Me to Life. I hope this episode inspired you in some way. After the show, take a moment and share us on your favorite social media, be it Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Thanks in advance. Stay awake and shine on always.